Hello, everyone. Just close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Another deep breath in and exhale. One more deep breath in and exhale. Remembering our parents and our gurus. Receiving their energy. We start today's class. So let us start with brain. What is this brain? So before we move into brain, let us understand one more thing. What is that? Another thing is, what is this brain? What this brain is actually in the whole body? Where does it belong to? So it belongs to nervous system. And if we talk about nervous system, like we talk about respiratory or cardiovascular or expiratory, nervous system is a system which is made up of nerves. Okay, in very simple language, it is a system which is made up of nerves. What nerve is, we'll discuss tomorrow. Now, what is this nervous system? Nervous system has actually two parts. See, don't get confused about the classification of nervous system. What I am writing, what is there in the book, what is there on internet, you will get hundreds of types of classifications. Every author or every person who is studying about nervous system will write or divide or classify nervous system into different ways according to convenience or according to function or according to structure or according to different parts of the brain. So follow this classification presently so that you understand what we are going to learn. Okay. So according to this system, nervous system, you can divide into two parts. First one is central nervous system. Central nervous system. And second one is peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. What is central nervous system? Central nervous system is a system which consists of two parts. One is brain and second one is spinal cord. So brain and spinal cord are actually part of central nervous system. Why central nervous system? Because this is the human body. So the brain and the spine is forming the central part of the body. That is why we are saying brain and spinal cord are part of central nervous system. The other system, peripheral nervous system, this can be divided into, like central nervous system is called CNS, in brief. Peripheral nervous system is called PNS, peripheral nervous system. It can be divided into two parts. One is afferent. In some classifications, you will get afferent and efferent in the previous row. Okay, so don't get confused. Peripheral nervous system can be divided into two parts: afferent nervous system and efferent nervous system. Afferent is also called sensory and efferent is called motor. Okay, what is this sensory? What is this motor? By tomorrow, you'll understand everything. Now, under sensory, under motor, you divide again into two parts. One is autonomic nervous system and second part is somatic nervous system. Now, this autonomic nervous system is also called involuntary nervous system, and somatic nervous system is also called voluntary nervous system. Autonomic nervous system is involuntary, and your somatic nervous system is voluntary nervous system. Now, under autonomic nervous system, again you divide into two parts. One is sympathetic nervous system, and second one is parasympathetic. Nervous system. Okay, some terminologies may be new to you, but still write it down. Okay, this is how we will learn. Okay, gradually when you're going, every time when you're going through the chart, now you will remember one word. So just note it down. Even if you don't understand anything, write down somewhere. So what did we understand here? Nervous system can be divided into two parts, central and peripheral. Central means the center line. So central nervous system can be divided into brain and spinal cord. And peripheral nervous system, that means the periphery. That means the nerves. Peripheral nervous system can be divided ultimately into autonomic nervous system, efferent and efferent, and efferent is again divided into autonomic nervous system and somatic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system is divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic. So we will focus on the brain, we will focus on spinal cord, and we will also focus on autonomic nervous system. This is what is given in the book, in the chapter. So these are the three parts we should understand: brain, spinal cord, and autonomic nervous system. But where actually they belong to, this is the chart, flow chart. Fine. Now come to brain. Brain, so every one of us know what brain is, because we are so very intelligent, we are human beings. It's not so. Brain is something which is a Pandora's box, which has so many secrets within that we still are learning what is there within. Okay, so to simplify and to understand what brain is, first let us classify brain, so that we, whatever little we know, we understand that brain can be divided into three parts. What are the three parts? One is forebrain, second one is midbrain, and third one is hindbrain. Forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. So now you place your palm on the front part here. So this is also self-hypnosis. Huh? If you practice these techniques, you will always remember. So this part, if you place your palm on the forehead, this is your forebrain. Okay, this is your midbrain, but actually this is not midbrain. Midbrain is somewhere inside, deep inside, but mid, no. So you can just place your hand in between and say midbrain. And on the back side of the brain, you place your hand, and this is your hindbrain, that is the back brain. Okay, forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. I'll show you one picture. It's a very nice picture. So this is actually the forebrain. Forebrain is a huge, very big part of the brain. Midbrain is somewhere inside, deep inside, which is midbrain, and the hindbrain, which you can feel on the back side, which is continuing to the spine. That is your hindbrain. Okay. So this is one classification. Another classification is also there. To understand other classification, first write down a few words. Write down these words. Huh? Brain can also be divided into following parts. What are these parts? Number one, Now, how we are dividing brain into another type of classification? This is actually seen in intrauterine baby of 3 to 4 weeks. When the child is in the womb, when the developing embryo is only 3 to 4 week old. So at that time, if we see the brain and if we classify brain into different segments, we'll divide it into number one, prosencephalon. Number two, mesencephalon. And number three, rhombencephalon. Prosencephalon, mesencephalon, and rhombencephalon. This is another classification. So brain different parts can also be in nomenclature and naming. We can say prosencephalon, mesencephalon, and rhombencephalon. Mesencephalon is a part that develops into midbrain. This part only develops into midbrain. And prosencephalon part, if I name two more parts of it, then one is called telencephalon, T-E-L-E-N, telencephalon. Another part is called diencephalon, D-I-E-N, cephalon, C-E-P-H-A-L-O-N, diencephalon and telencephalon. Fine. And rhombencephalon is also divided into two parts. One is meten, M-E-T-E-N, metencephalon, and second one is myelin, M-Y-E-L-E-N, myelencephalon. Now, I'll show you one picture, and after seeing the picture, you will always remember these names. So, see this picture, it's a very nice picture. So, what did we study right now? Brain in intrauterine life can be divided into three parts. One is prosencephalon, second one is mesencephalon, and third one is rhombencephalon. So this prosencephalon is developing into forebrain, mesencephalon is developing into midbrain, and rhombencephalon is developing into hindbrain, the back brain. And prosencephalon, again, we saw that it can be divided into two parts, telencephalon and diencephalon. Mesencephalon, there is no classification further, but rhombencephalon is metencephalon and myelencephalon. Why the structure is like this of the brain? Because this is still the developing brain. This is of intrauterine life, only 3-4 week old womb's brain. That is why the structure is something like this. So this is another classification which we should know. At least the names we should know, because in future you'll come across some names like myelencephalon, you'll come across names like rhombencephalon, then you will understand this key. This is actually according to one more classification of brain, which is in the womb condition. Okay. Now, further, what we should understand is different parts of the brain. Parts of brain. So the first part of brain, forebrain. In classification, what did we see? Forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Right? Now the forebrain. Forebrain. Forebrain actually consists of three parts. What are the three parts? Number one, cerebrum. Second part is thalamus. And third part is hypothalamus. Cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. We need to learn these terms because while plotting different points, you will use thalamus, hypothalamus, all these terminologies. Fine. So first, let us understand what is cerebrum. Then we'll move on to thalamus. Then we'll understand about hypothalamus. So what is this cerebrum? Cerebrum. Okay, first I'll show you the picture of brain. It's a very nice. See this. First, see the classification: brain, forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Forebrain is divided into cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. Midbrain, no further classification, but hindbrain, okay, there's some printing mistake here. It should be cerebellum, pons, and medulla. Okay, it should be cerebellum, Bellum, cerebellum. Okay, pons and medulla. So this is one thing. This is how our brain looks like. So though the drawings and diagrammatic views are always very colorful and very beautiful, but in actual, if you take out the brain from the cranium, this is how you will see it is a very much coiled, highly coiled structure, which is there in the cranium, the skull. And that is why you will see that it has a lot of coils. While studying cerebrum, we'll see that it's a huge structure. If you uncoil it, it's a very, very big structure. But this has been fitted into a very small area, and that is why you can see the coils. So this part, this whole part is cerebrum. This is cerebrum. Rest of the parts we'll understand with time. What are those parts? But the most coiled part, the walnut-like structure, which has two parts, the right and left, is the cerebrum. If you cut a section through the brain, this is how it will look like. So it is almost like the palm, your whole palm-like size. And if you cut a section through the middle, you will see some more complicated parts in between. Actually, these are the most complicated parts, which we need to understand. Because this has a lot of nerve supply, similar structures, but this part contains different structures, compactly arranged. This is cerebrum. So first part, forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Forebrain, first part, cerebrum. Second part, thalamus. Third part, hypothalamus. So first part, which is cerebrum. So this is cerebrum all over. This is called cerebrum. Inside it are different parts. So what is this cerebrum? Forebrain or cerebrum. There are some points which we should remember while understanding forebrain, while understanding cerebrum. Point number 1. It is maximum developed in human being. And that is why it is called neocortex. This is also called neocortex. Remember one thing, whenever we have any structure, this is just, I'm making it very simple for you to understand. Something which is outside is called cortex, and inside is called medulla. So cerebrum is actually forming the outer covering of the brain, outermost part of the brain, the coiled part of the brain. The vertical section which I showed you just now shows the outer coiled part. So that coiled part is the outer part. That is why it is also called the cortex. Why it is called neocortex? Because neo means new. So if we compare human being with other animals, other organisms, we see that this is a part which has been developed, which is developed in human being more than any other organism. That is why it is called neocortex also. Point number 2, it weighs around 1400 grams. 1400 grams, 1 kg, 400 grams is the weight, but seems like 50 gram. Why? Because it is floating in CSF. As it is floating in CSF, it weighs only 50 gram. It's like a huge ship made up of iron floats in water. Why? Because some physics principles, Archimedes principles. So similarly, it floats in fluid. That is why it weighs less than whatever the actual weight is. Point number 3, total surface area. What is the total surface area? Total surface area is almost 2000 square centimeter. 2000 square centimeter. So you just calculate after the class, you calculate how much is 2000 square centimeter. That means if you open up the surface, CSF is cerebrospinal fluid. So if you open up the whole brain, the outer covering, you will see that it is 2000 square centimeter. That means if you take a piece of paper, I have a rough paper. So if we take a plain sheet of paper, and if I try to fit it in small covering or small box, what I will be doing? I'll crush it and put it in a cavity, right? So how will this look like? If you see it from close by, you will see it has a lot of crush on it, and that is why it has a lot of gyri, G-Y-R-I, gyri and sulci on it. So gyri and sulci are actually the structures. I'll show you the diagram. Gyri and sulci are actually the elevations and the depressions on the brain, on the cortex, which are because of the huge amount of crush or a lot of crush on the surface of the cerebrum. Okay. So this is another point which we should understand. And the point number 4, it has almost total nerves, which are almost 100 billions neurons. So hundreds of billions of neurons are there in the cerebrum. Point number 5, it has outer cortex, outer gray matter and inner white matter. So what is this gray matter and white matter? Tomorrow we'll understand what is this white matter in the next class. So if you see the structure, you will see something is darker on outside and lighter on inside. So outer is gray matter, inner is white matter. So this is because of the cerebrum only. Cerebrum has this gray matter and white matter. If I ask you which part of the brain contains the gray matter and the white matter, you will say cerebrum has the gray matter and the white matter, because this is forming the outer structure. Inside it has another complicated part. Okay. So this is another point which we should understand and remember. Now, one point which I'll discuss with you, if you don't understand the meaning of these parts, if you don't remember the name of these parts, don't worry. Just note down whatever I'm writing. It has some very important parts within it. Within cerebrum, within cerebral cortex. Cerebrum is also called cerebral cortex. So within cerebral cortex, there are some parts which are very important. So these parts are, number 1, thalamus. So thalamus is a part which is inside cerebrum. Point number 2, hypothalamus. 3, corpus striatum. 4, claustrum. C-L-A-U-S-T-R-U-M. Claustrum. Point number 5, basal ganglia. Now, under basal ganglia, write down, it consists of three structures. There are three parts of basal ganglia, and these are: number one, the caudate nucleus, putamen, and globus pallidus. You may think that what is the use of learning all these terms? What is the use of understanding and remembering these terms? But in long run, you'll use these terms. If you are seriously into this therapy, if you are seriously into healing someone through acupressure, you will get reports which has these terms. So if you don't know these terms, it would be very difficult for us to treat a patient. If an MRI or CT scan has these terms written into it, you should understand what these terms are. So just note it down. No need to mug up, but note down. Okay. And number 4, this is number 5, and number 6, internal capsule. So these are the parts which are within cerebral cortex. I'll show you all these parts and you'll thoroughly enjoy what these parts are actually. Okay. So these are the different parts of cerebral cortex, and this is cerebrum. Cerebrum is also, see, there are different classifications which we understood right now. One is brain is divided into forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Another was prosencephalon, mesencephalon, rhombencephalon, isn't it? Another classification says cerebrum can also be divided into different lobes. Cerebrum can be divided into lobes. So lobes of cerebrum. What are these different lobes? The different lobes of cerebrum are okay, we'll do it after this particular point, that cerebrum can be divided into two parts. One is left side, another is right side. So this is forming actually one hemisphere, because this is a spherical structure. So this spherical structure, if we divide it into two parts, it becomes hemisphere. Okay, half of the sphere. So hemisphere, one hemisphere, this is another hemisphere. So two hemisphere are there in the cerebrum. So when we say that brain has hemisphere, it is actually the cerebrum that has the hemisphere. Okay, because rest of the parts are single only, but cerebrum is divided into two parts, which is connected with each other through a bridge. Two hemispheres are two, write down, hemispheres are divided, two hemispheres are connected with a bridge called corpus callosum. CALLOSUM. Okay, so actually related to corpus, there are three terminologies. One is corpus callosum, another is corpus striatum, which you wrote just now. If you just flip back the pages in the notes and see where you have written corpus striatum, it's a part which is inside the brain, inside the cerebrum, isn't it? You have written corpus striatum. And third corpus is corpus luteum. If you remember reproductive system, then inside the ovary there was a structure that was corpus luteum. So don't get confused between these three types of corpus. One is corpus callosum, corpus striatum, corpus luteum. All the three are corpus only. Okay. So this corpus callosum is actually the bridge which is connecting the right brain with the left brain. Now the lobes which I was talking about, there are different lobes in the cerebrum, and these lobes are lobes of cerebrum. These are frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital. Frontal, that means the front part of the cerebral cortex, frontal. Beside it, just behind it is parietal. This is temporal and occipital. Backside of the cerebrum is occipital. Okay, so frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital. So these are the 4 lobes of cerebrum. So this is about cerebrum. Is it clear to everyone? Cerebrum. So we move on to the next structure, and it is, what was the second part? Second structure of forebrain. After cerebrum, what is the next structure of forebrain? Put it in the chat box. Yes, thalamus. Second structure to study is thalamus. Thalamus. So what is this thalamus? Thalamus is a very beautiful part of the brain. Now understand what is this thalamus. I'll show you the structure of thalamus. First, see this. This may look little weird and funny, but remember this is a very beautiful diagram. Very, very beautiful diagram. You can take a screenshot and keep it with yourself and note down that this is the green structure is actually the thalamus of the brain. Okay. So how many thalami are there? Thalamus. How many are there? 2. 2 egg-like structures which are hidden inside the brain. Within the cortex. So inside the cortex, there are 2 thalami. I'll show you one more picture, but focus on this part, this part, this hollow part. There's a groove in the center, na? Focus on this. I'll show you this groove. I'll show you one more picture. Keep this picture also with yourself. In future, you will refer it many a times. This is a very, very beautiful picture. Very beautiful picture. See this. What is this named as? This part. This is named as third ventricle. So ventricles are actually the cavities in which the fluid is filled. Inside the brain, there is fluid now, right? Inside the brain, there is fluid. All of us know there is CSF, cerebrospinal fluid in the brain. Where is this fluid? This fluid is inside the ventricles or the cavities. Okay. There is one right ventricle, one left ventricle. There is one third ventricle. So right ventricle, this is not a part of syllabus, but understand this. If you understand this, you will never forget. There's one right ventricle in the brain. There's one left ventricle in the brain. And in between the right and left ventricle, there's one more ventricle. Very small ventricle, which is called third ventricle. Fine. And after this third ventricle, there's a ventricle which is moving down. This is called fourth ventricle. So in between third ventricle and fourth ventricle, there's a small passage. Whatever I'm saying now, I'll show you everything. Literally, I'll show you everything. This is not in the picture. In the 3-dimensional structure, I'll show you all the pictures, all the structures. Okay. So remember, then I'll say that I said that refer to third ventricle. So see this third ventricle very clearly, because whenever you mention thalamus, you always say that thalamus is present on both sides of third ventricle. So where is this third ventricle? This is third ventricle. Fine. So what to know about thalamus? So second part is thalamus. So what is this thalamus? Thalamus is, okay, I'll mention it as one. Number one, part of forebrain. It is a part of forebrain made up of gray matter. So it is made up of gray matter. Point number 2, situated on both sides of third ventricle. Now you know what third ventricle is. Point number 3, both thalami. Now you know there are 2 thalamus inside the brain. Huh? So both thalami are connected. They are not independent. They are connected to each other. Point number 4, thalamus has, why thalamus is important for us? Why is it so very important part of brain? Because it has nuclei of each sense. What are the different sense organs? What are the different senses whose nuclei are included in the thalamus? So the nuclei, it contains a nuclei of vision. Vision nuclei is there in the thalamus. So for vision, you may choose thalamus. Auditory. So auditory nucleus is also in the thalamus. Gustatory. That means taste. That nucleus is also in the thalamus. Touch. So this touch nucleus is also in the thalamus. So which one is left? Which sense organ is left here? Auditory is already mentioned here. Yes, nose. That means except the olfactory, that means of smell nuclei. So except smell, rest all the nuclei, all the sense organs are controlled by thalamus. Remember this. Just remember, except for smell, rest all sense organs are controlled by thalamus of the brain. So you may choose thalamus to treat different sense organs if it is a neuro problem of the sense organ. So this is very important to know about thalamus. We move on to the third point, hypothalamus. If you remember hypothalamus, we have already studied about hypothalamus in the previous semester, last semester. Where did we study? Which chapter? Where did we study this hypothalamus? Endocrine, yes. So in endocrine also, we studied about hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is a part. It is always said that it is a very important endocrine part of the body, isn't it? Because it is controlling even the pituitary gland. In endocrine system, you studied about hypothalamus, where we say that pituitary is called the master gland, but this master gland is also controlled by hypothalamus because there are some connections, there are some neuro connections, endocrine connections with between the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. So hypothalamus is a very important endocrine gland, but along with being endocrine gland, this is also a very, very important part of, you may say, topmost part of limbic system. What this limbic system is, we will study. It is a very important part of limbic system. Okay. Controller of autonomic nervous system. It also regulates cardiovascular system. Controls emotions, hunger, and satiation. Satiation means satisfaction. So whenever you are having food and you are satisfied, it is because of the impulse which is sent by hypothalamus. Hypothalamus says that you are satisfied, so you stop now. But at times you will see, and you may correlate at times with yourself also, you eat a lot and still you are not satisfied. You feel that you still want to have something, though you feel that the stomach is full, but that satisfaction is not there. So which part of the brain is giving the satisfaction? Hypothalamus. Okay. Point number 6, thirst. See, all these are so vital part of our day-to-day life. Hunger, thirst, satiation, emotions, cardiovascular system, and also biological clock. Sexual desires, and sorry, number 9, motherhood, feeling, and also production of milk. So these are only few to name, but there are many other functions of hypothalamus. These are very, very important functions of hypothalamus. So what this hypothalamus is, how does it look like? Hypothalamus is a small bulb in the brain, you may say, very small area. See how small it is. This is such a small part of brain. So only this part is hypothalamus. What is this part? If someone can name. What is this part? Very good. No, someone named. No, not pineal. Yes, this is two-lobed structure. But what is the name of this? Pituitary. Yes, this is pituitary. Okay. So remember, just below the hypothalamus, you have two-lobed structure which is hanging. This is called pituitary. And at the back side, you have actually the pineal. This is pineal. This is pineal. This is pituitary. The front part is pituitary, P-A-R-Y. So front part is pituitary and back side is pineal. So this is about the hypothalamus, the third part of forebrain. Second is midbrain. So what is midbrain? Midbrain is a very small part. I'll show you one picture. Just take a screenshot of this picture and keep it with yourself. The midbrain. And also you will see the structures, pons and medulla. Yeah. So pons, medulla, and midbrain. All the three structures are very clear here. Just see this particular structure, midbrain. What is this midbrain? Midbrain. Midbrain is point number 1. It is almost 1 centimeter in length, 1.5 centimeter in centimeter wide, and 1.2 centimeter thick. So how big is it? 1 centimeter, 1.5 centimeter wide, exactly this much. So only this small, you may say like a small block, very small block, small chip inside the brain, inside, not in between, inside the brain is midbrain. Okay. Second point, it has two pair of large swelling called colliculi. 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 Two large swelling. So the 1, 2, 3, 4. So structures like this are present in the midbrain, which are called colliculi. The upper one is called superior colliculi and the lower one is called inferior colliculi. Okay, I'll show you the picture of superior and inferior colliculi. This is cerebrum, okay, and this part is actually the midbrain. The third part is actually the pons and medulla and cerebellum. So focus on this part only this part, midbrain. So in the midbrain, you see there's one ovular structure, another ovular structure, and two small structures. So these are called superior colliculus and inferior colliculus. Forget about this. Superior and inferior colliculi. These are forming midbrain. So I'm sharing my screen with you. What you need to do, whatever you have noted down, wherever you have noted down, keep those pages in front of you and follow the names, the new names which you have learned, because you will get new terminologies and I'll show you those new terminologies inside the brain, where those structures are actually inside the brain. See this. So this is actually the vertical section of the brain. That means this whole thing, if I divide vertically like this and separate the two halves from each other, this is what we will see. So this is the brain, and this is the brain from the front side. This is the brain from the side view, and this is from the back view. Okay, so if this brain vertically, if I divide it into two parts, see, this is what we see inside. So many times you will see a structure like this in the pictures, that these are the parts. So what actually this part is, this is actually the vertical section, and inside the vertical section, you can see these parts. So now follow what I am saying. The outer structure, just a minute. All these structures, wherever I'm just highlighting it, these structures are nothing but, all these structures are nothing but the outer cortex, cerebrum. It is a cerebrum. So I'm removing cerebrum. Okay, so follow what I'm saying. I'm removing cerebrum, the outer covering. I'm removing the outer covering of the brain. Removed. All these are removed. So I have removed the outer covering, the cortex, outer cortex, the gray area of the brain. Inside it is the white matter. Outer was the gray matter. We said, na, outer gray matter, inside it is the white matter. So this white matter is this one. Inside the gray matter is the white matter. Now I'm removing the white matter also. So what is left is the most complicated part of the brain, which has a lot of compact, very condensed structures, tightly packed structures inside it. Now just see this. I'm removing this because we haven't studied about it. Now, can you see a bridge? Yes, this is your corpus callosum. Can you see corpus callosum? I'm removing the corpus callosum now, the bridge. This was a bridge which was connecting the right hemisphere with the left hemisphere. Okay. Just below the bridge, what is there? Can you see something fluid, liquid present? There's a bluish liquid present. This blue liquid is nothing but the right ventricle. Right, because we are seeing only one half of the brain now. So this is right ventricle, see? Right lateral ventricle. So similarly, we have one left lateral ventricle. We have one right lateral ventricle. So this is right lateral ventricle. So I'm removing this right lateral ventricle. Removed. Now see, you can see a very narrow structure here. This is telencephalon. Now you are aware of the term telencephalon, rhombencephalon, mesencephalon. Just keep on checking wherever you have noted down. So telencephalon. There's a term telencephalon. So I'm removing this telencephalon. Now see this fluid-like structure. Can you see this fluid again here? This is third ventricle. So I said no, there's a small cavity on both sides of which you have the thalamus. So this is the liquid in between. Beside it on both sides, you have thalamus. So if I remove this third ventricle from here with the fluid, what will you see on the other side? What will you get? There's a third ventricle on both sides of which you have thalamus. So if I remove this third ventricle from between, what will you get on two sides? Yes, you will get thalamus. So this is, see this, thalamus. Okay, so this is how thalamus looks like. In front of thalamus, what do you have? Hypothalamus. So this is how the hypothalamus looks like. Just below the hypothalamus, what is hanging? The two lobe structure. Again pineal. Why? Pituitary. The two lobes of pituitary. This is the front view. This is the back view. So we are seeing the front view. So two lobe structure. I'm removing pituitary. Removed. On the back side, you have the pineal body. Okay. This small bridge, which is called the fornix, I removed. This is also fornix, removed. This is choroid plexus, removed. This is a part of thalamus only, removed. This is called intraventricular foramen. This you may study it in future. Just remember, this is intraventricular foramen. Removed. All these are different structures. Now see this structure. What is? If I just turn it to the front view, I'm sorry. Caudate nucleus. You have written down somewhere caudate nucleus, right? So this is caudate nucleus. This is internal capsule. And this is putamen. Where have you written all these terms? You have noted down somewhere. These are part of cerebrum, but which part? Inside the cerebrum, which part? Basal ganglia. Yes, basal ganglia, isn't it? So these are part of basal ganglia. So these are actually forming the basal ganglia of the brain. So I'm removing all the three parts. Globus pallidus. This was also part of your basal ganglia. Yes. See this, amygdala, and also hippocampus. Amygdala and hippocampus you will study when we will study about limbic system. Hippocampus and amygdala. But you must have studied it. The names you must be knowing because these are part of clotting in Ayurvedic acupressure. Amygdala and hippocampus. So we are removing hippocampus and amygdala. This is optic tract. At times you will get patients where they say that optic tract is affected. So where is this optic tract? This optic tract is in connection with the hypothalamus. If you remember hypothalamus, what we did in semester 2, then we spoke about different nuclei which are present in the hypothalamus. And one of the nuclei was optic nucleus. So this is the optic tract which is connected to hypothalamus. Okay, so we are removing this optic tract also. So what are we left with? This is the fourth ventricle. So right ventricle, left ventricle, in between the right and left ventricle, you have small third ventricle, on both sides of which you have the thalamus. And then you have the long, narrow channel which is connecting the brain with the spine, that is called the fourth ventricle. And in between the third ventricle and fourth ventricle, you have a narrow passage which is called cerebral aqueduct. This is also a very, very important part because when this cerebral aqueduct is blocked, with that causes accumulation of fluid or retention of fluid in the brain. Okay, so this is a very important part, cerebral aqueduct and the fourth ventricle that I have removed. So if I remove the hypothalamus, if I remove the thalamus, then you are left with something that we will cover tomorrow, and it is called the midbrain. So this is half of the small chip which is present inside the brain, that is called the midbrain, very small structure. And just below the midbrain, you have the pons and then the medulla. Okay, and just behind pons and medulla, this is part of pons only, pons. This is medulla. And behind pons and medulla, you have the small brain that is called the cerebellum. Okay, so this is how the brain looks like. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed brain. Thank you so much, everyone.